I call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I want to start by recognizing a very special guest we have tonight, at least to me. My grandson, who is here from Idaho, visiting before he goes back and enters the fire academy. And so I'd like to ask him to come up to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Here.
Councilmember Litzter?
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge?
Here.
Mayor Thomas?
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
Mr. Mayor, we have two items. One, I just want to note that we have a recommendation for continuing public hearing 5C to the meeting of January 5th. And then we want to pull consent 9 as that item is not ready for council consideration.
June or January?
June, did I say January? I'm sorry, June 5th. January 5th, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare so at this time. Seeing none?
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a proclamation recognizing the observance of Arbor Day and declaring the week of May 15th through May 21 as Simi Valley Arbor Week. And Principal Planner Claudia Pedroso is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation is Henry Herrera, Forester with CAL FIRE.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and City Council members. We're delighted to announce that the Arbor Day Foundation has once again recognized the City of Simi Valley as a Tree City USA. We're privileged to have a representative from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection here tonight to present an award on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation in recognition of our city achieving Tree City USA certification for the 23rd consecutive year. Now I would like to present that proclamation to the Mayor and City Council designating Arbor Week. And I will read the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, the first Arbor Day was observed with the planting of trees, and whereas trees are a source of renewal, add value to the urban landscape, moderate temperatures, clean air, produce life-giving oxygen, and beautify our community, and whereas the City of Simi Valley is dedicated to enhancing and preserving the urban environment, and in recognition of its commitment, has been named for the 23rd year as the Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. And whereas the City of Simi Valley Council encourages residents and local businesses to support the expansion of the urban landscape by planting trees. Now, therefore, the week of May 15 through May 21st, 2023 is hereby proclaimed Arbor Week in the City of Simi Valley to urge all residents and businesses to plant trees to enhance the beauty of Simi Valley and promote the well-being of these and future generations. Presented this 15th day of May 2023. And we'd like to welcome CAL FIRE Representative Henry Herrera.
I was just driving down the street the other day, talking to a few people in my car, and we were noticing how many trees there are in this town. It's amazing, and how mature they are. And so we're doing our part.
And I believe Mr. Herrera has some remarks that you'd like to that you'd like to say?
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to be part of your city's Arbor Day observance today. My name is Henry Herrera. I'm the the urban forestry supervisor for Southern California for the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, known as CAL FIRE. The Arbor Day Foundation recognizes cities for their commitment to trees through the Tree City USA program. In order for a city to receive this recognition, it must meet four fundamental components. They are: the city must have a tree board or a department, a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day proclamation and observance. Since the year 2000, the city of Simi Valley has shown its dedication to restoring, enhancing, and maintaining your community's urban trees by meeting or exceeding these standards. CAL FIRE supports and delivers the Tree City USA program on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation throughout the state. As the CAL FIRE Urban Forestry representative, it is a great pleasure to recognize the city of Simi Valley officials, staff, and partners for the hard work that they do to improve and preserve the quality of life of its residents. I'm honored to be here today with you to celebrate Simi Valley's Tree City USA designation for the 23rd year in a row. Congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 1D2, presentation of certificates of completion to the spring CERT graduating class, and Emergency Services Coordinator Rachel Myers is here to present this item along with Technical Reserve Bob Moss.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. Tonight we are recognizing the 24 Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, training graduates from the Spring 2023 training class. Each year, the city offers basic CERT training to the community. This year marks the 29th year of this very successful program, which is offered to Simi Valley residents at no charge through a partnership with the Ventura County Fire Department. With the addition of these graduates, over 1,600 Simi Valley residents and workers have completed 8 chapters of online training, 18 hours of hands-on disaster response training classes, and an in-person final simulating responding to a disaster. A special thank you to Ventura County Fire Department Captain Robert Miner, who conducted the weekly training for the city, and CERT Program Director Steve Lazenby, who organized the final drill simulating responding to a major earthquake. We thank VCFD for their partnership. The city's volunteer disaster service workers support the CERT trainings. The volunteers with us tonight are Bob Moss, Phil Ankrum, Ed Baker, Daryl Clark, and Jorge Curiel. We thank them for their service. The graduates received 6 weeks of training on a variety of topics, including disaster preparedness, disaster medical operations, search and rescue, fire suppression, team management, small group leadership, terrorism awareness, and disaster psychology. The CERT program plays an important role in preparing residents for disaster response and potential evacuations. For example, in 2019, the Easy Fire interrupted the fall CERT training, and the students were called into action to help the community with their newly acquired skills. We thank these graduates for their dedication to the program and congratulate them on their graduation. We ask them to become champions for CERT and encourage their neighbors to take CERT training so they will have help when a disaster strikes. The next CERT class will be offered in fall 2023. Citizens can take the 8-chapter online training now. Visit the emergency services page on the city's website for more information. At this time, graduates, please come forward as your name is called to receive your certificate. Not all of our graduates are in attendance this evening. Brian Becker, Lolita Boyle, Don Cheney, Mark Cheney, Nick DeNicholas, Deborah Elias, Josh Elwell, Ann English, Jennifer Feliz, David Gearing, Rosie Gomez, Laura Jackson, Jeremy Coughlin, Angela Larcombe, Rudy Mazzella, John McCarter, Julia McCarter, David McQueen, Ian Nelson, Ray Perkins, Huey Tran, Lynn Tran, Corinne Williams, and Feather Williams. Thank you, graduates. Please return to the front where we'll gather for a quick photo.
And I think it should be acknowledged that we have a member of our youth council who completed training. Ian, good job.
Take my 8 chapters, see what happens in the fall.
There you go. Yep, you're good. Very good if you're looking at it from the angle of the city camera.
Yeah, right. Man, I have to sit here and smile a lot. Let me give you rabbit ears right now. Well done.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 1D3, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of May 21 through May 27, 2023 as Public Works Week. And Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. The Public Works Week proclamation reads as follows. Whereas public works facilities and services provided in our community are an integral and essential part of our citizens' daily lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, public buildings, streets, highways, and flood control, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depend on the facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, construction, and maintenance, depend on the efforts and skills of public works personnel, supported by the public's awareness and understanding of the role of these public servants. Now, therefore, the week of May 21 through May 27, 2023 is hereby proclaimed Public Works Week in the city of Simi Valley to encourage all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing public works facilities and services to our community and to recognize the contributions which public works personnel make towards our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life, presented this 15th day of May 2023.
Ron, come on down.
More donuts for the pothole guys.
Over here. Come here. Oh, go through there. Yeah, well, I just want to say, Public Works Department is a group of real hardworking individuals, and I can tell you they were heroes during all the rains we had. So we do appreciate them. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is 1D4, presentation of a proclamation declaring May 15, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and Chief of Police Shorts is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation is Commander Tom Meyer.
The City of Simi Valley has issued a proclamation declaring May 15, 2023 Peace Officers Memorial Day, and Commander Tom Meyer will accept it on behalf of the Police Department. Commander Meyer grew up in Simi Valley and joined the department's Explorer Post in 1984. He graduated from Simi Valley High School and went on to earn a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Tom served in the United States Marine Corps Reserve and was hired by Simi Valley Police Department in 1990 as a police services assistant. He promoted to police officer trainee in 1992 and was sworn in as a police officer on April 30th, 1993. Tom has worked a wide variety of assignments over his 30-year career. He promoted up the ranks and is now the Professional Standards Bureau Commander, which oversees internal affairs, training, and recruiting. Peace Officers Memorial Day serves as a tribute to Simi Valley Police Officer Michael Clark and all of our nation's law enforcement officers who have paid so high of a price protecting the freedoms that we enjoy every day. It is also a reminder to all of us who are called on to this profession that our commitment and dedication are recognized and appreciated by the citizens and the communities we serve. It is now my privilege to read the proclamation. Whereas peace officers throughout the United States, pursuant to their sworn duty to safeguard lives and property, place their lives on the line to maintain public order daily. And each year, hundreds of peace officers are either slain or injured in their attempt to protect and serve their communities. And whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy, in conjunction with Congress, first proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day in recognition of the law enforcement professionals killed or injured while protecting the lives and property of American citizens. And whereas it is desirable to remind the community of these officers' sacrifices and to support those who day and night stand guard to protect all citizens through enforcement of the law. And whereas the tragic loss of Officer Michael Clark on August 4th, 1995, will forever endow a special and very personal meaning upon Peace Officers Memorial Day for our community and its police officers. Now, therefore, in recognition of those officers who regularly risk their lives and those who have sacrificed their lives in the line of duty, Monday, May 15th, 2023 is hereby proclaimed Peace Officers Memorial Day in the city of Simi Valley to encourage all citizens to join in recognition of these officers and order the flags at all city facilities to be flown at half-staff as a visible sign of our tribute, presented on this 15th day of May 2023.
And unfortunately, we were just reminded again of what a dangerous job this is with the loss of another peace officer here in California.
Say something.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D5, presentation of a proclamation declaring the month of May 2023 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and Assistant City Manager Samantha Argabright is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Whereas the month of May was chosen as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month to commemorate the anniversary of the May 10, 1869 completion of the first transcontinental railroad built with the backbreaking labor of nearly 20,000 Chinese immigrants. And whereas President George H.W. Bush signed a bill passed by Congress to extend the first 10 days of May as Asian Pacific Heritage Week to a month-long celebration, and the month of May was officially designated as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in 1992. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders represent over 10% of Simi Valley's population and include devoted community members who serve as artists, business owners, educators, healthcare professionals, lawyers and judges, clergy members, first responders, and military personnel. And whereas the City of Simi Valley recognizes the tradition of leadership, resilience, and courage shown by the Asian American Pacific Islander community and the struggle for equity. And whereas the efforts, resilience, and contributions of Asian Pacific Americans can be seen in every aspect of society and have played a pivotal role in America's history. And whereas today more than 20 million Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders live in the United States, and through their actions make America a more vibrant, prosperous, and secure nation. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Simi Valley does hereby proclaim May 2023 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Simi Valley to encourage all residents to celebrate the rich heritage of the Asian Pacific American community and work to combat racism and xenophobia. Presented this 15th day of May 2023.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D6, presentation of certificates of commendation to the Grace Brethren Lancers, winners of the 2023 VEX World Create Award, and Assistant City Manager Samantha Argabright will present this item as well.
Good evening. Once again, we are recognizing the impressive Grace Brethren High School robotics team. This evening, it is for winning the 2023 Create Awards at the VEX Robotics World Championship that was held in Dallas, Texas. Team 986A includes 5 students, 3 mentors, and 1 faculty advisor. Before we proceed to the distribution of the certificates, I'd like to invite you to turn your eyes to the screen at the front of the room for a taste of the competition that these students participated in and how their robot works.
We're now here at qualification match number 38. All 4 robots are on the field. We're just checking for safety glasses. Drivers, are you ready? Red Alliance, Blue Alliance. All right, we'll start in 3, 2, 1. And right away, wasting absolutely 0 time. We've got 2 discs into that blue high goal. And 2 discs into the red high goal.
And now, as I say your name and role on the team, please come forward. Ian Nelson, team captain, programmer, CAD designer, strategist, builder, and online challenge lead, CERT grad, and youth council sergeant at arms. I don't think we can fit anything else on the certificate for you, Ian. That's all we can do. Owen Zahn, main driver, builder, and scout. Peter Wang, lead designer, documenter, researcher, online challenge lead, and scout. Kyle Zahn, head builder, coach, scout, and online challenge lead. Dante Swice, builder, coach, scout, and pit crew. Cecily Nelson, robotics main mentor. Chris Zahn, robotics logistics mentor. And and Bill Shem, a robotics organizational mentor. And not present this evening, Jake Meitel, robotics faculty advisor.
Okay, apparently I do. Hello, my name is Ian Nelson. We're 968 for Lancers from Grace Brethren. What you saw in there made probably no sense, and that's okay. No one understands it when we first explain it. It's not BattleBots. It's really a 2v2 Frisbee match. So what you saw on there was our autonomous period where the robots were driving themselves, and the robots were programmed to shoot discs across the field. It's essentially Frisbee golf, but you're just playing with like 50 discs on the field, and you're trying to get more discs in your zone than your opponent. So this robot was the one that won the Create Award at Worlds this year. As you can see, these are some of the Frisbees that we are launching for several days straight, for several hours at a time. This is a catapult. It's kind of hard to tell. It's built on a ratchet, and it's able to shoot with 100 pounds of force with these little pistons right here, shoot these little less than a fourth of a pound disc across the field. It can definitely, if we really want, pump this thing up and shoot it across the entire room and hit someone, which is why we won't turn it on. But yeah, we're really proud of this team. We're really thankful to all our parents who were able to watch us over the years and foster this love for STEM. In Simi Valley, we really, really, really love to promote robotics. We really love to promote at street fairs at Simi Valley. If you went to that, we like to show off our robots and let kids drive it. We like kids, even though this is a Worlds bot, we built it so it's safe enough where we can let them drive it and have fun and hopefully build a love for engineering and robotics. So on behalf of our program, we're really thankful for the accommodations here today, and thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, I should be in the back. Congratulations, guys. Very impressive.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. Mr. Mayor, we have no speaker cards for this item. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3C1, informational presentation by Youth Council member Christopher Krikorian.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. My name is Christopher Krikorian, and I am currently an 8th grader at Hillside Middle School. This is my first term serving on the Youth Council, and it is my pleasure to present to you a few updates on recent Youth Council events, as well as our plans for the future. On April 6th, the Youth Council held our 5th annual talent show and silent auction at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. A total of 28 acts wowed the crowd, 22 of which competed for an astounding $2,100 in cash prizes. We'd like to thank judging panel Katie Dix, Stephanie Wilson, and Anthony Angelini for making the tough decisions, to Nicholas Casey, the Cultural Arts Center's technical director, for his work in making the event run smoothly, and our generous event sponsors, Adventist Health Simi Valley, AeroVironment, Alt Cooking Hub, Farmers Insurance, Agent Stefiana Valentino Buffalo, El Capitan Fresh Mexican Grill and Seafood, Jordan, Gilbert, and Bain Landscape Architects Incorporated, Sakti Group of Marriage Halls, IT Park Incorporate, Sweets Chennai, India, Spiritual Assembly of the Balya of Simi Valley, and Vans Manufacturing for all donating $250 as platinum sponsors. We would also like to thank our Youth Council families for donating items to the silent auction. With the silent auction, ticket sales, and concessions, we were able to raise close to $3,000, with 100% going towards our prevention and awareness campaigns and other Youth Council events. Youth Council recently participated in the YES Job and Career Fair on April 22nd. This event was held to connect local employees and job seekers. It also provided career exposure in a variety of industries. A total of 15 Youth Council members volunteered to help at the event, including students that are interested in serving on the Youth Council. The job fair ran very smoothly, with more than 500 people in attendance. We invite everyone to join us on May 18th in limiting your screen time use as part of our first Community Unplugged Day. This is to encourage students and others to reduce their use of electronic devices and decrease their reliance on social media, which commonly leads to poor mental health when used too often. As an incentive, prizes will be given to the person with the lowest screen time usage, as well as random drawing of those with lower average screen times. During our Teen Wellness Night event, we are School District's Tobacco Use Prevention Education Program and the Simi Valley Public Library on Friday, May 19th. The Teen Wellness Night will take place from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Right outside in the Civic Center courtyard. We have a variety of organizations scheduled to host booths that emphasize the importance of mental health and general awareness and show effective methods for stress reduction. We have a lot of swag items to give away with fun activities, including a power of breathing and meditation session. We encourage everyone to attend. Any businesses, clubs, or service group that may be interested in having a free booth space to share information or host fun interactive events that promote teen wellness, fitness, nutrition, mental health, service clubs, volunteering, team sports, or any other activities, please register at www.tinyurl.com/teenwellnessreg by tomorrow evening. I also invite you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Simi Valley Youth Council, as it is a great way to keep up to date on Youth Council events. I would like to thank Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council again for allowing me to be here tonight and for supporting Youth Council. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Have a great evening.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you, and thank you, Christopher, for your 8th grade. I'm impressed. You are appreciate your service. I just wanted to confirm the dates. The youth fair, or the youth health wellness fair, etc., is the 9th. It's
Yes, May 19th.
Friday night, May 19th. So just to be confirmed, that is, we're talking this Friday,
Yes.
right outside here. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. And I wanted to understand a little bit better about your limiting screen time on the 18th. How do I win that prize? How does someone win?
So essentially what we're going to do is, there's like a setting on your phone that shows you like your daily screen time.
Oh, so I have to be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just gonna like turn in your phone and show how much your screen time you've had.
Interesting. Okay, great. Just show it and they'll write it
just
down,
show
then
it,
there'll be
yeah.
a drawing or something that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Yeah, Chris, I just wanted to say, I put a lot of pressure on you at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
It was a really great presentation, and you're going to go far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. During this agenda item number 4, the City Council will hear public statements from the first 10 people who have submitted speaker cards. After the first 10 persons have spoken, subsequent persons who submitted speaker cards will be called on to speak during agenda item number 6, which is a continuation of agenda item number 4. Agenda items 4 and 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which a card was submitted to speak for this public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any other comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
Jeremy Hunter.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeremy Hunter. I'm here with my wife, Shay Hunter. We're here tonight to address a situation that's been ongoing since we purchased our first home here in Simi Valley in January of 2021. Although I've been a resident for 9 years, my wife for over 20, between the cross streets of Arcane and Catlin Street off of First Street and parallel with Lincoln Park, there is a erroneous and foul smell emitting from what has been told to us as a main sewer line vent that stretches up Long Canyon and concludes between Catlin and Arcane. The smell is so bad at times that we avoid going outside, shutting all of our windows and doors, and being met with questions like, can we really have a birthday party for our daughter at our home with a smell like this, or who is extremely upset that she's unable to ride her scooter outside at times. We're an outdoor family, and you will always find us outside skateboarding, taking a walk, or playing outdoor activities in general. The smell of the methane gas that we are forced to breathe and smell is not healthy, and bottom line is just disgusting. We started taking measures to address the situation on March 29, 2021, We called the city and were advised to send an email to Mr. Paul Gonzalez. I don't recall what his title was, but I do know that he was the top supervisor of the department that he handles. We were met with a phone call from Paul in a very timely fashion, but the information that we got was a little concerning. Essentially, according to Paul, this has been a known issue for quite some years' time, and multiple residents in the area have brought it to his attention. He advised that he have a team go to the area to see if there was a backup, a quote-unquote backup of waste. I'm not sure if this was followed up on, but he did tell me the only way to get more attention around the issue was to publicly address the council, hence my reason for being here tonight. To give a little more description, the odor seems to be more present during hotter temperatures and seems to subside more during the winter. As the weather is starting to warm up again, we, our daughter, and our neighbors and the community have taken notice of the rotten egg smell. We have a very close friend who is a realtor that has stated something like this smell can be very impactful in reducing the value that we would normally get for our home if we were to put it on the market, which is extremely concerning as this home is a huge investment in our future. My wife is also a nurse and has talked with the doctor that she works under about the issue. Her doctor has stated that the doctor that she works for has stated that if this were her home, she would take it very seriously as it could cause health conditions later on in life. I will conclude that my family is asking for assistance in getting this matter handled once and for all so that we can enjoy the outdoors without being disgusted by the smell and knowing what we are essentially inhaling is essentially poisonous and could lead to long-term effects, including eye and respiratory irritation, to name a few. Thank you for your time and giving us the time to speak on the matter. I did come to the conclusion with Lucy earlier that I wasn't going to receive any feedback from you guys tonight, which I understand why now, but I would definitely like to follow up with you guys. Yeah. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that was the only speaker card. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
This is the time and place set for, no? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Rhodes.
Yeah, Mr. Hunter and Mrs. Hunter, I live up First Street, and driving down, I recognize and totally understand that what you're talking about, and so I am curious as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lister.
We did just notice that Mr. Fujiwaki gave you his card, and that's going to the top, just so you know that. But we will all be very aware and mindful, and thank you both for coming this evening. So we'll follow up. Thank you.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
I was going to say basically the same thing, but I also kind of want to recognize the recipients earlier of the certifications that we handed out. I'm the only CERT graduate up here on the dais. Are you? Now there's two of us. Okay, I'm going to challenge the others to take the CERT class, or at least visit. Mike's probably got plenty of background already from being a law enforcement officer, but it is a great thing here for our community. And then thank you, Mr. Fujiwaki, for all of the hard work that our essential worker public works people do. Like you said, during the recent rains and even all through COVID, they had to work. They're essential. So just remind them how important we think they are and we know they are. So thank you. And he'll take care of you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is a time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the City Clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council and will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the City Clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted for this public testimony item 5 for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Comments shall be limited to the matter relevant to the item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of the city staff related to these matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. Agenda item 5A a public hearing to consider the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 assessments for the Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1 and adoption of a resolution approving the assessments. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2023-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley confirming the diagram and assessment for those lots and parcels included within Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1, levying the assessments for the fiscal year 2023-24, and ordering improvements specified in the engineer's report as approved in Resolution Number 2023-20. And Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki is presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. On May 1st, the City Council adopted the necessary resolutions and set a public hearing for May 15th to consider the proposed FY 2023-24 assessments for Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1. There are no recommended changes to the existing assessments, and they will remain the same through next fiscal year. The district operates under the authority of the State Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972. There are a total of 99 landscape zones in the district, including 48 active zones, one of which encompasses all of the city-controlled areas, and 51 contingency fallback zones. Active zones are maintained by the city and funded through assessments to the property owners within each active zone and a contribution from the general fund. Fallback zones are maintained by homeowners associations or property owners. For fiscal year 23-24, the cost to maintain the assessment zone areas is approximately $1.2 million, which is funded by approximately $800,000 from assessments and $400,000 from the Landscape Augmentation Fund, which is funded by the general fund. Staff continues to take steps and explore opportunities to reduce costs, including modifying landscape maintenance contracts by reducing the frequency of certain tasks and applications while still maintaining the aesthetics of the landscaping, implementing smart irrigation controllers, low water use plantings, and replacing plant material with ground cover, wood chips, and bark, replacing plants, foliage, and trees with low water use options, or the implementation of hardscape when deemed appropriate. And also implementing turf removal projects to remove the turf, which is a high water use landscaping. A resolution to establish the FY 23-24 assessments for Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1, a map of the landscape zones, the engineer's report, and a summary of the proposed assessments by zone are included in this evening's report. It is recommended that at the close of the public hearing, the City Council approve the FY 23-24 assessments for Landscape District Number 1, which will remain the same at their current levels. That concludes our staff report, and we're available for questions.
Council, do we have any questions of staff? Councilmember Rhodes.
Mr. Fujiwaki, I was looking at the parcels, and 14A and 14B seem to be markedly higher than the other areas. I'm wondering what landscaping is there that designates a higher assessment for those people living in that area, or is it the fact that there's just a smaller number of homes to split that cost around?
It's a combination of everything. First of all, these two zones are very large. One, I believe, is over almost 600,000 square feet, and the other is almost 300,000 square feet. So there's a lot of landscaping. This area has a lot of shrubs, bushes, a lot of trees. They also have a lot of slopes that we maintain, so the cost of the maintenance is very high. Obviously, with that much ground and ground cover, et cetera, there's greater electricity costs and greater maintenance costs, water costs, et cetera. So therefore, the assessments for each property are a little higher than other zones normally.
And I didn't realize it was that large of an area. Is there functional or non-functional turf that could be removed in the future?
There may be some, but I think most of these areas are slope areas as well as landscape easements through private property that just sort of meander all the way through the two tracks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councilmember Litster.
So a couple questions. Actually, help me understand again the term fallback. That basically is a term meaning that
Basically, what it means is if the zone is currently maintained by property owners or HOAs, if the zone falls into great disrepair, the city council could choose to take it over
okay,
and then establish an assessment for those property owners.
okay,
We haven't had to do that, and I don't believe that, I think the council policy, I believe, is not to do that.
that makes sense. That makes sense. A follow-up question. In the past, I know we've talked about the areas where the assessments are, well, where the collections don't cover the costs, et cetera, and we've had to pay higher fees, it's at higher amounts to take care of the landscaping. But as I was reading the report this time, it occurred to me that there are areas, certainly, where people are paying assessments in essence in excess of what the actual cost is. Do we ever reduce those fees? Does it kind of, I mean, I know over time it moderates. Is there a plan, I mean, to possibly reduce in the future if they stay in the black at a certain percentage, for instance?
I believe in order to, no, they've never been reduced.
Well, and I suspected.
As far as I know.
Well, for instance, I know it's like Area 43 has a 20,000 plus surplus,
Yeah.
for instance, but I know it all averages together, and so I'm not
Averages together.
advocating that right now. It just is trying to understand.
And I think to either increase or decrease the assessments, there has to be an evaluation done by a consultant. I remember I believe the city of Camarillo has consultants that thoroughly evaluate costs and benefits and things like that and come up with the appropriate assessment level. As you can imagine, in this case, it's probably higher, but we have never lowered them, no.
Okay. And one final question. I just noticed that the grass is looking a little long, the weeds or the grass is looking a little high as we walk into City Hall today. Is that one of those assessment districts, or is that something totally separate?
Actually, it's part of the city's responsibility, and we'll find out what happened
Oh,
with the maintenance crews.
I can tell you, it is not one of these zones.
Okay, I didn't think so, but
And actually, we're working on the plan to remove all the turf around in the area.
And I
so-
understand that, but meanwhile, maybe just a quick lawnmower until we make that decision. Just,
Well, we've reduced the maintenance obviously down to minimal standards, so it's probably a once-a-month mowing, quite frankly. So it's due.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. It's tangential. I understand. Thank you.
Let's see here. Well, no. I'm looking at the wrong one again, okay. At this time, I would like to open the hearing for anyone in the city council chambers wishing to be heard on this matter.
Mr. Mayor, we have no speaker cards for this item this evening.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Well, then, in that case, the hearing is now closed.
Okay, and how about now?
I will now entertain a motion.
I want to get on it. All right. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution approving fiscal year 23-24 assessments for Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Next public hearing item, agenda item 5B. A public hearing to consider the city-initiated municipal code amendment Z-S-2023-0003 to amend portions of Title IX of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to update standards for accessory dwelling units in response to recent state law changes, a determination that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and introduction of an ordinance. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number 1349, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley for city-initiated municipal code amendment Z-S-2023-0003 to amend portions of Title IX of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to update standards for accessory dwelling units in response to recent state law changes, and determining that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and Deputy Environmental Services Director Sean Gibson and Senior Planner Naren Gunasekera are here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. We're here tonight to incorporate the latest rounds of state law changes for accessory dwelling units. Since 2017, the state of California requires ministerial approval of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. In 2023, additional ADU laws have taken effect to clarify standards and to further promote ADU development, which as a result will also help further satisfy the city's regional housing needs by encouraging these accessory buildings on single-family lots for extended family members or to meet rental housing needs. In our presentation shortly, you will see references to state-mandated requirements and provisions for local control. Much like our current ADU ordinance, with adoption of tonight's ordinance, it will further grant local control of several aspects of ADU development in order to protect and maintain the character of our single-family neighborhoods to the extent possible. Failure to adopt an ordinance with these local standards could result in oversized units, reduction in open space, less privacy, and other controversial outcomes, contrary to existing city standards. Also, there will be a couple mentions tonight about SB 9 units. SB 9 is a state law which effectively rezones single-family zone lots to allow for a maximum of 4 units per lot. Where there is some interplay with tonight's ADU ordinance, we will take a closer look at SB 9 with the City Council this fall when we bring back those ordinance updates for a public hearing. So for tonight's presentation, Naren Gunasekera will proceed.
Good evening. The California legislature passed AB 2221 and SB 897 in 2022, updating the Government Code sections related to accessory dwelling units, known as ADUs. This has necessitated an update to the city's ADU ordinance. The new legislation removes front yard setbacks for statewide exemption ADUs, changes height limits for attached and detached ADUs, requires objective design standards be implemented for ADUs, and allows detached ADUs to include a garage. The proposed update includes code changes that reflect updates to the mandatory state requirements for ADUs. Where these are addressed, these will be in red text representing state control. Also included are city-initiated development standards as allowed by state law to encourage neighborhood consistency. These will be in blue text through the presentation to represent local control. ADUs constructed in conjunction with SB 9 units and lot splits will also be addressed. Lastly, cleanup and clarification items from the last major update in 2020 are also included in the update. The proposed amendments are recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on March 29, 2023. Before moving on to the code amendments in detail, I want to cover the concept of a statewide exemption ADU as detailed in the Government Code. This is basically an ADU that is up to 800 square feet in size and 16 feet in height, though note that the city actually allows an 18-foot height limit in consistency with our height limit for other accessory structures. State law severely restricts the development standards that can be imposed on these ADUs, including those related to lot coverage, open space, and minimum lot size, among others. This was part of the last major ADU code update in 2020. State law now does not permit front yard setbacks to be implemented for these ADUs. Rear and side yard setbacks remain at 4 feet. Moving on to 2-unit developments and urban lot splits, basically what I'm going to refer to as SB 9 units. As a background, Senate Bill 9 became effective in 2022 and allows property owners within single-family zones to develop up to 2 primary residential units on a single lot with ministerial approval, and/or create a 2-lot subdivision known as an urban lot split on an existing residential lot, subject to certain criteria being met, again with ministerial approval. 2 primary units may also be constructed on each lot. The city's interim SB 9 ordinance limits unit size based on the size of the existing residence and lot from 800 square feet to a maximum size of 1,200 square feet for detached SB 9 units on lots over 8,000 square feet. and that is, sorry, to clarify that the 1,200 square foot maximum is only on lots over 8,000 square feet in size. When SB 9 units and ADUs are combined, the city can limit the total number of residential units on these developments to 4, and that is inclusive of ADUs and junior ADUs. Junior ADUs are basically smaller versions of ADUs that are contained entirely within a single family residence. The code update includes details on the combinations of ADUs and SB 9s possible. Diving into these combinations, in the scenario on the left, you can see an existing single family residence has been converted to an SB 9 development where the residence becomes an SB 9 unit. A second SB 9 unit and a detached ADU has also been constructed. The proposed code update will limit these ADUs to detached 800 square foot ADUs. Any second ADU proposed in an SB 9 unit would need to be separated from other structures by 10 feet instead of the usual 6 feet in an attempt to preserve private open space. In the scenario on the right, a lot split is proposed on a lot with a house, which then becomes an SB 9 unit and an ADU. An SB 9 unit and an ADU or another SB 9 unit can be built on the new lot. In all cases, the total development is limited to 4 units across 1 or 2 lots. With regard to height limits for attached ADUs, the city previously limited all ADUs to a single story and 18 feet in height. State law now requires that attached ADUs be allowed up to 25 feet or the maximum height permitted by the underlying zoning, whichever is lower, and for these to be 2 stories. In the city, the maximum height would be 25 feet, as all single-family zones have a maximum height of 30 feet. This height limit would apply in all cases where the side and rear yard setbacks are the minimum 4 feet required by the state. The only exception to this would be if the setbacks for the proposed ADU are increased to 10 feet for the side yard and 20 feet for the rear yard. With these optional increased setbacks, the code update includes an allowance for attached ADUs to be increased up to 30 feet in height. These are the same height limits and setback requirements for regular home additions. This serves to incentivize homeowners to match the underlying single-family zoning requirements in order to obtain the extra 5 feet in height for these ADUs. With regard to detached ADUs, the city is not proposing to allow 2-story detached ADUs. These continue to be limited to a single-story structure, 18 feet in height, which is the height for all accessory structures in residential zones. There is an additional state-mandated 2-foot allowance for ADUs within half a mile of a high-quality transit stop, if required to accommodate a roof pitch that is aligned with the primary dwelling's roof pitch, which would allow these ADUs to be 20 feet in height. This figure illustrates the half-mile radius around the only high-quality transit stop in the city, which is the Metrolink station. State law also requires that design standards imposed on ADUs be objective, measurable, verifiable, and knowable to all parties prior to project submittal. A planning review process based on objective design standards involves no personal or subjective judgment by a public official. Objective design standards were included in the 2020 update. However, the city is proposing some minor changes to these standards. Attached ADUs must continue to match the main home with the colors and materials proposed. For detached ADUs, this has been changed to a minimum of 1 color and 1 material from the primary dwelling. As ADUs become more popular, more customizable, prefabricated ADU models as shown in these photographs are being produced. This requirement would ensure that such ADUs would be compatible with the main home while providing homeowners in Simi Valley more flexibility in purchasing or building their ADUs. The city is also proposing standards related to window placement. Windows are not permitted above the first 10 vertical feet of the wall plane for both attached and detached ADUs. This is in order to preserve privacy for neighboring properties. As attached ADUs are now allowed on the second floor, windows facing adjoining properties will not be permitted unless setbacks are increased to 10 feet for side yards and 20 feet for rear yards. An example is shown on the left with the ADU portion highlighted in red. No windows are allowed with the minimum setbacks. Increasing the setbacks would allow these windows to be permitted as shown on the right. These setbacks are the setbacks required for two-story additions to single-family residences. This is another incentive for homeowners to match the underlying single-family home setbacks. ADUs over 800 square feet, which are non-statewide exemption ADUs, and any second ADU proposed in conjunction with an SB 9 unit will be subject to additional city-initiated development standards. One standard is that the detached structures, inclusive of ADUs and SB 9 units, cannot cumulatively cover more than 40% of the first 10 feet of a side yard and the first 20 feet of a rear yard of a lot. In the example shown here, the required yards are shown by the yellow areas. The blue section of the ADU, the green section of the shed, and the red SB 9 unit in total cannot equal more than 40% of the yellow areas. This is intended to protect private open space on lots. ADUs over 800 square feet will also be required to keep at least 50% of the required rear yard width open, inclusive of all structures on site. In the example shown, the combined width of the shed and the ADU would need to be 50% or less than the width of the required rear yard, which is shown in the with the red arrow. The SB 9 unit is outside the 20-foot setback and as such would not be counted in this. The purpose, as with the 40% coverage rule for these larger ADUs, is to discourage large ADUs on smaller lots and ensure that preserving private open space happens. State law also now requires allowing an attached garage for a detached ADU. This is also a frequent request from applicants. There is, however, no size limit required by state law. In order to prevent oversized garages being attached to ADUs, such as the example shown with a 2,000 square foot garage attached to an 800 square foot ADU, the code update limits garage portions to 400 square feet, which is sufficient for a two-car garage. The proposed changes will update the city's development standards for ADUs and JADUs to be in conformance with state statutes and utilize the available regulatory options to maintain neighborhood quality. The Planning Commission recommends that the City Council introduce an ordinance approving Z-S-2023-0003. This concludes my presentation and staff is available for questions.
Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Narn. Appreciate your thorough explanation. There are a couple of areas I want to ask questions about, but first I want to really understand the 0-yard setback. If I understand, the state has mandated that we cannot stop an ADU being built in someone's front yard that touches the sidewalk if it's under 800 square feet. Is that correct? Am I saying that correctly?
That is correct, yes.
And there's no objective design standard. Obviously, there's objective design that you've shared with us, but there is absolutely no way we can require a setback for an ADU in a front yard that is under 800 square feet.
The state law is quite explicit that we cannot use front yard setbacks on statewide exemption ADUs.
That is such awful planning. I just have to make sure that, anyway, I just had to get it out there because that just is just bizarre. Anyway, let me go to what we can talk about that we have some control and some discussion over. Help me understand SB 9 and what it means for lot splits, et cetera. If I understood correctly, with SB 9 residences, you can have an official lot split, but you don't have to have an official lot split. Is that accurate? Is that what this is showing us?
Correct. I'm not the expert on SB 9, but let me attempt to answer your question. So SB 9, so the accessory dwelling units are accessory to the main home.
Right.
That's the way that it's phrased. An SB 9 unit is its own separate dwelling unit. So it's basically converting single-family zoning into a duplex zoning.
Right.
As such, you can have one scenario where you have two SB 9 units on one lot essentially a duplex or detached duplex, for want of a better description. The other option is that you can actually split the lot. So there's certain criteria. I know that one of the criteria is that when you split a lot, the second lot cannot be less than 40% of the original lot. So there's certain criteria that you need to meet, objective criteria, and then you can split the lot, but you can do SB9 units on basically on the first lot and on the second lot.
And so I guess my question is, can these residences be sold separately once they're built, for instance? Normally, obviously, homes are usually sold with the land that they're on, but there are places where you buy the home and lease the land or whatever. Is that somehow influenced by the or affected by this?
So my understanding, and Mr. Gibson will correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you have two SB9 units on one lot, that has to be sold as one lot. If you do a lot split, then essentially you're creating a new lot, so you can sell the new lot.
Okay. And is there anything, once the lot split is created and you've got two, is there anything that stops that lot split, assuming they have the size, from being split again?
I believe under state law, you cannot split it again.
No, you cannot. You cannot lot split it again. Once you invoke SB9, it becomes essentially a rezone, and you cannot re-subdivide again.
Okay.
And the key is that between the two lots on the right-hand side there, the number of units between those cannot exceed 4 total. So
Got it.
And on the right and on the left-hand side too. So 4 maximum units.
Okay. Let me change the subject just a little bit. Thank you for helping me understand that. As I read the report, I understand that our hillside performance standards are now, we have been forced to modify them, let me put it that way. Is in a sense that an ADU, it used to be that 20% grade you couldn't build on. Now we're being told that doesn't matter, but did I read that correctly?
Well, under the original ADU, the 2020 updates basically forbid us from using any open space limitation on building up to a statewide exemption ADU. So basically, if you that rule's already been in place. What we have done is, because we've had a couple of applicants who didn't understand that, we've included it explicitly in the code so that there's no back and forth. So basically, like I said, for ADUs up to 800 square feet, your development standards are very limited. You cannot use open space, you cannot use lot size, any of that. And our HPS is essentially an open space requirement. So we cannot use that up to 800 square feet. And of course, we've had some applicants who tried to put them on the who tried to put 1,200 square foot, 1,000 square foot ADUs on the 20% slopes. So we've just clarified that you can only get up to 800 square feet on those slopes.
I understand. Okay. Thank you. That's it for now for questions. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you conceive, I had an understanding before, and this helps clarify it for me, but can you conceive of any way with SB9 or without SB9 that you can get more than 4 units on a single parcel? Like with a junior ADU or anything like that?
There are a couple conceivable ways out there. It may come down to future interpretations by the state or litigation that comes down from other through the California court system. As far as that, it may include pre-existing ADUs, which may already be on the property, and some other revisions. But through several presentations throughout the state, One, including the handbook from the HCD, is saying 4.
4. Okay, thank you. On that 0 lot line ADU in the front yard, is that as a result of SB9 or what other legislation?
That is the ADU ordinance.
The ADU ordinance, okay. There was something in this ordinance about barns and the conversion of barns, and that you could get over the number of square feet. So let's say if there were a house that had a 2,300 square foot barn, and you wanted to convert that, I have two questions. Is that completely possible to just convert that into a large ADU? And the second one is, if the HOA requires that a barn be present on the property, and they convert this ADU, does the HOA have any precedent, any way of administering what gets built on that lot?
With regard to the first question, so under the ADU ordinance, any pre-existing living space, regardless of size, can be converted to an ADU. So conceivably, if you have a 2,300 square foot barn on your property, you can convert that to an ADU. With regard to HOA rules, HOAs can impose restrictions. However, they cannot unreasonably restrict the construction of an ADU. What unreasonably restrict means is up to interpretation. So that may well be a case law.
That is
question.
an excellent, frustrating answer. Let's see. No, I have no further questions.
Yeah, I think that answered my only question, had to do with if the HOA still has any power whatsoever in this situation. And I guess we'll find out over time. Okay. All right, so at this time, I would like to open the hearing for anyone in the City Council chambers wishing to be heard on this matter.
Mr. Mayor, we have no public testimony for this item.
Okay, then the hearing is now closed, and I will now entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, can I just ask one? I gotta find my buttons. I just want to understand. I understand all of what we're approving and et cetera, but is there somewhere in this, I'm still going back to that zero lot line. Is that articulated in the resolution that we're passing today, that we're allowing that? Does that make sense, my question? I mean, I understand the state's mandating it, but do we have it now written out? I just somewhere in the resolution or in our code now that says, yes, you can do this.
The code table basically removed, so earlier it had front yard setbacks. It was split into front yard setbacks and rear and side yard setbacks. I believe it's been modified just to remove front yard setbacks up to 800 square feet.
Because I'm of mind to prove everything but that, but I recognize that that's state mandated. But
there are often like utility easements that run within the first 2 feet of a property line,
right,
and they cannot build within utility easements because regardless of state law, you cannot build.
And
within
that's
the easement.
specified in our code.
It's not specified in our code, but we do not allow construction within easements because you cannot legally construct within an easement without the easement owner's permission.
Our plan check process really goes through a number of checks for easements, and it's really the owner's responsibility to make sure they comply with that easement. There's also provisions in some cases for site visibility. There may be some health and safety aspects that we look for, but generally there's not too much we could do, but there are a few little things we could take a look at, and we try to incentivize to push that unit back away from the sidewalk.
I guess I'm just, okay. And all that is good. And I hope that all that is written in our code. That's my desire, is that, I understand, and maybe it does need to be. You're saying it appears in plan check, et cetera, that's where.
It's hard to understand as an American when somebody mandates you to do something that you don't want to do, and you're changing your entire zoning in your city for ridiculous idiocy out of our legislature.
What I want to add, Councilmember Lister, we can always look at the life safety issues. This is the same issue we had with the RVs in the front yard, the motorhomes being parked in a way that's right behind the sidewalk and perhaps creating a visibility issue. And if a building is right there in the front, I think it's fair to see if we can apply a visibility safety issue if it's at a corner. So there may be some ways through the life safety process to help regulate this.
I would like us to do everything we can and articulate it in our code that we are doing as much to restrict this.
I'm pretty sure the city needs a 10-foot easement on every property. I'm pretty sure.
And we can certainly make it clear that we would prefer setback. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I was going to make a motion real quick, but in regards to that, I have seen a couple of ADUs, like garage conversions and/or additions on in my neighborhood, and they're following the setback just to keep the aesthetics. They want their home to look good and for resale value. So hopefully we can kind of encourage that a little bit more. But I was going to move to introduce the ordinance. Okay, I move to introduce ordinance number 1349, amending standards for accessory dwelling units in response to recent state law changes and a determination that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
I'd like to make a motion unless somebody's going to pull something. I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 8A, second reading of ordinance number WWD-18, establishing requirements for backflow prevention assemblies and prohibition of cross connections, and determination that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number WWD-18, an ordinance of the Board of Directors of Ventura County Waterworks District Number 8, adding Chapter 15 to Title 6, Sanitation and Health of the Municipal Code of the City of Simi Valley, establishing requirements for the installation, maintenance, and testing of backflow prevention assemblies, and the prohibition of cross connections.
I move to adopt ordinance number WWD-18.
Wait, hold on just a second. Councilmember Rose, did you have a comment?
I was just going to ask if we can ask Joe Deacon to present this item.
Okay, so I heard a motion and a second. Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, consideration of proposal for enhanced library services options and authorization for the city manager to execute related amendments to the contract between the City of Simi Valley and Library Systems and Services, LLC, and management analyst Kelly Tinker is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. This evening, I have the privilege of presenting for your consideration a proposal from Library Systems and Services, LLC, or LS&S, for 2 service-level enhancements to our existing library services contract. These service enhancements address community needs that were identified by LS&S and staff during development of the library's recently adopted 5-year strategic plan, and will emphasize access to services and the expansion of the library's reach and impact to the Simi Valley community. The first service enhancement option for your consideration is the addition of a mobile library service developed to promote equity of service provision by increasing access, making library services available to all of Simi Valley. Our strategic planning engagement efforts identified that library services in Simi Valley are underutilized by those with transportation, language, and/or technology barriers, which limit their library access, and as such, the need exists for additional outreach and the extension of services to those community members who are not yet library users or have said access limitations. Mobile library services addresses that need through flexible service offerings, bringing library resources and programming out into the community where they can be appreciated by all. Adopting the mobile library service option will include the addition of a full-time LSNS staff member assigned to the management and coordination of the program, responsible for assessing community needs and developing site schedules and service objectives to best serve Simi Valley residents. Scheduled stops will include neighborhoods and park locations, school sites, senior living facilities, community events, and more. Mobile services will be delivered using a city-provided vehicle, outfitted with equipment and supplies needed for off-site service provision, such as mobile book carts, modems, cellular hotspots, and Wi-Fi, and a full complement of the library resources and programming services available at our Tabo Canyon facility. Total costs for the mobile library service enhancement is $150,000 for the first year of operation, which includes a program collection startup budget just over $12,000, as well as $50,000 toward the purchase of a mobile library service vehicle. And it would be $87,680 annually thereafter. The total estimated cost for the mobile library vehicle is approximately $100,000, with the remaining $50,000 coming from fundraising opportunities and community donations. The second service enhancement option is the addition of adult literacy services provided in-house by LSNS staff as part of a wraparound approach in which adult literacy, early literacy, family literacy, student support, and English language support programming at the library all complement one another. Adopting this service enhancement will include the addition of an LSNS-provided part-time literacy coordinator/instructor, which is a half full-time employee equivalent, and they would be fully dedicated to literacy and English language services here in Simi Valley. Adult literacy services at the Simi Valley Public Library are currently provided through the Ventura County Library under the READ Adult Literacy Program. The city's contract with the county for adult literacy services expires June 30th, 2023, and while that program has provided valuable service to the Simi Valley community, bringing these services in-house as part of a whole family literacy program will offer a much more robust and comprehensive approach to adult literacy and English language services. The city currently budgets $20,442 for the county's adult literacy program annually. Total cost to add the adult literacy service enhancement, which will include English language instruction for our residents where English is their second language, is $33,400 for the first year of operation and thereafter. However, available grant funding for the California State Library can further offset the annual cost of in-house adult literacy English language services by an estimated 50%, providing even greater value in addition to a more impactful program for the Simi Valley community. Approving both enhancement options would increase the annual cost of the city's library services with LSNS by a not-to-exceed amount of $183,400 for fiscal year 23-24, and a not-to-exceed amount of $121,080 annually thereafter, with the potential for that total to be reduced by available literacy grant funding from the California State Library. Should the City Council approve the proposal, funding for the enhanced services has been included in the proposed 23-24 budget, and no changes will be required to move forward with service enhancements. This concludes our presentation, and both city staff and LSNS staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are so well served by the library, and what you guys have done, thank you for all the services. I like talking about this topic, especially after getting frustrated off of the last topic, because this is proactive and doing good things for our community. If our partner thinks that this is an excellent service and a way to outreach to an underserved part of our population, then absolutely, I think we should do that. I did have, as I was listening to your presentation, I had a curious thing. Is there any metric that's going to be used in terms of people served as English as a second language service? And if so, will it be measured, or are we just going to offer classes?
So the data will be collected, and we will be able to assess who's been serviced. As for the program itself, it's been grouped into adult literacy services as an option because the California State Library has allowed for grant funding to extend to both adult literacy and English as a second language. So we will track that information. We'll be able to provide feedback and annual reporting on how people are being served in the community. And then we can use those metrics, use those measurements to create further goals down the road.
Excellent. I thought the presentation was great, and I think this is a well thought out service.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to also compliment you on the report today and the two new initiatives. I know Ms. Veely and I spoke about the mobile probably a year or two ago, and that was something that she was really interested in. So having both of these programs come up is just great, and I'm glad we're able to put them in the budget. But real quick question: what's the age limit to get a library card? Do we have one minimum? My 3.5-year-old grandson has one, and they like to get the read-along books that he can download onto his iPad. I just found that out this weekend. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. So it's just another thing to add to the different programs that our library does. You know, people think of library as just books, but ours is anything but just books. So I want to compliment you both on everything you do and the library staff. So I think these are great recommendations. Thank you.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you, and I concur that these are both exciting programs. A couple questions logistically. I understand the city is providing the vehicle. Has that vehicle already been purchased? Are we repurposing something we already have?
So we would be looking for a new vehicle to purchase, and it will be a combination of fundraising opportunities and a budgeted $50,000 from the upcoming fiscal year. As far as fundraising opportunities go, we're coming up on being a third, maybe a little more, toward that $50,000 that we need. And there are lots of exciting opportunities that are being created through some additional library ongoings that you guys will be updated on further that will have some additional fundraising impacts.
Wonderful. And I guess part of the reason I was asking, I just wondered if the city should make the commitment to purchase it and then lease it to LNS. I don't know how that works for budgeting, if that's helpful in any way, but I just want to be sure that there aren't roadblocks. I guess that's what I'm asking. I noticed, I know that Ventura County has been providing a English, I think, is it the READ program? I remember meeting someone a couple years ago who was very involved in providing English language services. So Ventura County will no longer be providing that service for us. And are they aware of all of this and supportive? And
So when our contract with the county expired at the end of 2022, we entered into a single-year contract for the provision of adult literacy services, knowing that LS&S had been putting together an opportunity to bring it in-house and form a wraparound approach for all of their family literacy offerings. We have not spoken with the county on the idea that we would not be renewing that contract for another year or going forward. It was dependent upon how this went this evening.
that makes sense. And did I understand correctly, reading in the report, that it used to be that the CME Institute provided English second language services, but are no longer doing so? Is that accurate?
Shortly after the COVID-19 pandemic, the CME Institute for Careers and Education, yes, to answer your question, they used to provide funding to offset instruction costs for
Right.
the adult literacy program. They offered adult literacy as part of their curriculum, and in doing so, they were able to pay for the instruction costs that our instructor provided because they were overlapping with those same services through the library. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic caused them to reassess where they were allocating their funds, and they pulled out of that agreement with us, and it prompted that full funding of that program to be the city's.
Got it. Well, I concur with my colleagues that these are both very valuable tools, and I can see that that bookmobile, although you haven't even used that term, but I could see that in my neighborhood and areas, and I know it's going to be very well received. So anyway, very positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm glad that we're bringing the literacy program in-house. I think that that's going to offer more accessibility and a better product for those that need it. I support both of the programs, and I'm actually excited about the library. Now that I got a full tour and an explanation of what's coming in the coming years, I'm actually really excited about what's going on over there at the library. I'm looking forward to hearing more as we progress. Thank you.
And I'd be happy to make a motion if we're at that point. I move to approve the proposal for enhanced library services options and authorize the city manager to execute any related amendment to contract between the City of Simi Valley and Library Systems and Services, LLC.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Gotta be ready for these things. It comes fast. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Wednesday, May 3rd, Mr. Gabler allowed me to pitch an idea and become a nuisance to him, and he did so graciously. So thank you. On the evening of the 3rd, then inclusive of May 4th and May 5th, I attended the Southern California Association of Governments off-site meeting in Palm Desert, and also included in that time was my meeting with the Clean Power Alliance. At the Clean Power Alliance, they agreed to a rate increase, and I might be new to this whole government thing, but when they say we've increased your rates and saved you money, only a government institution can accomplish that. The SCAG meeting was incredibly informative. It's somewhat of a trade show format while doing business, and the tabletops there were incredibly informative of different things that are being done around the SCAG area that we could also then incorporate into our city, and I learned a lot from that. On Saturday, May 6th, I attended the Simi Valley Street Fair, and the great thing about not having a booth is being able to wander, and I successfully wandered the entire thing, which wore holes in my shoes because it goes forever. Also that evening, I attended the Soaring Spirits fundraiser at the Reagan Library, which was fantastic to see our little homegrown charity get so large and be so successful. On Monday, May 8th, I attended the Lou Roth Award reception at Strathern Park, which was great to hear from all of the awardees, and I'm sure that Councilwoman Lister will have more to say on that one. Wednesday, May 10th, I attended the Interfaith Council meeting. This was my first time attending that, and it was incredibly heartening to see those of so many different faiths in the same room working on solving the same problems, and I'm encouraged by that in our town. On Thursday, May 11th, I attended the Council on Aging Unbound Luncheon. It was attended by around 200 seniors to get lunch. It was fantastic, and I learned from Ashley that I was the most handsome man in the room. So,
Wasn't Councilmember Mike Judge in attendance there too?
He was standing right next to me. I just wanted to point that out. And then that evening on Thursday, my Rotary Club had our Paul Harris Night celebration, and we got to award some great people from our families and our communities at that night's event. I attended the Chamber Breakfast on Friday, May 12th, and that's the first one I've been able to attend in a while. It was nice to hear what's going on. On Saturday, the 13th, I started my day going to kick off the Samaritan Center's Hike to the Cross. There was a fundraiser for them. I didn't do the hike, but I did get there to give words of encouragement. I also attended my Rotary softball tournament, which was brought a whole bunch of people in from out of town, creating a good chunk of revenue for the city. I was very excited about that. Assemblywoman Irwin had a sort of meet the people tabletop discussion session, which I attended across the street here in that Regal food court area. And then today, the 15th, I went out to Camarillo to Skaggs Connect SoCal Open House, which is an information gathering device that they use to come up with ideas and that they haven't thought about to incorporate into their plan. It's every 4 years they reinstitute the plan, and this was their outreach, and so I attended that. And Mr. Mayor, that's the end of my report.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad to learn that about Rocky Roads and and your attendance. I'll begin with Thursday, May the 4th. It's the 24th Annual National Day of Prayer. And to commemorate it, I was gratified to actually attend two events. At 7:30 in the morning, I attended an event sponsored by the YMCA, actually, and they'd invited quite a few community members to gather at CLU, and there was a wonderful commemoration of all the things that we are grateful for in this wonderful community, and so it was quite an honor to speak on behalf. In fact, I was the only elected official speaking. They had a lot of other people speaking and praying and commemorating our country and worshiping together of all sorts of faiths, and that was much appreciated. And then I, at noon, came as well to the National Day of Prayer event that was held here at City Hall. And it was even rainy, and I was delighted to see how many people from our community were here worshiping together and praying for us as council members that we might be diligent in our responsibilities and for the city and furthering all that we do and work together. And I was very gratified and appreciated their diligence. In fact, they were invited to come inside, but they chose to stay outside. I think they wanted to be sure that that any stragglers could be brought in, and they didn't want it to. Anyway, they were all there for an hour plus, praying on our behalf and here at the city together. And I would have attended SCAG. I had planned to that evening, although I had these other commitments. But I want you to know, Friday morning, my granddaughter had her one performance at Wood Ranch Elementary. And one of the reasons I really couldn't miss it is it was a patriotic event. And she was singing the national anthem and God Bless America. And all of these songs I was hearing in the back of my car, I thought, I cannot miss this. And I'm gratified that our schools are teaching our 6- and 7-year-olds those important foundations of freedom and music. And so it was time well spent. Saturday, May 6th, I also attended the Simi Valley Street Fair, although I was not walking as Councilmember Rhodes was. I was in the Simi Valley Ed Foundation booth. It was interesting as we were asking students if they wanted to sign teachers little notes to their teachers, and we would deliver them. It was interesting to find out where all of the attendees were from, and I would say half of the children were not from Simi Valley. They were from all over Ventura County. They came over from, so the 20,000 plus, this is a huge draw into our community from all over. I, too, attended the Soaring Spirits Gala, and I want to commend Michelle Neff Hernandez, 15 years, for her diligence and desire to make a difference, and what a tremendous organization that is. And I appreciate that they embrace all that grieve the loss of a loved one. Truly was a beautiful, beautiful gathering. As Councilmember Rhodes mentioned, on Monday, May the 8th, it was the Lou Roth Awards, although I attended Council on Aging previous to that. But the Lou Roth Awards reception is again, the Ed Foundation recognizing the outstanding, some of our outstanding people in the school district. And so I just quickly mentioned the 6 that were honored. Denise Scrapp for Lifetime Achievement Award, Lisa McGowan as Volunteer of the Year, Dr. Jamie Snodgrass in Management, Ryan Rosak, Certificated, Teresa DeGagne for Classified, and Janine Dion in Special Education. Just really, their remarks were fabulous. We are really have some outstanding people in our community, all very deserved. On May 9th, I participated in the Arts Commission interviews, and we have some excellent commissioners who will be joining us, or actually returning, but I don't want to give anything away. But it was fun to interview them. May the 11th, Thursday, I chaired the VCOG board meeting held in Camarillo that afternoon, and our speaker, or our presentation that occupied most of it, was Jennifer Harkey, the director of the Continuum of Care. Of course, she spoke to us here recently, but she was specifically talking about homelessness and the recent homeless count. And there were just a few figures that I wanted to mention, share with you. Our homeless count has increased for the entire county by about 9.1% from over last year. Basically, there were, I want to make sure I'm accurate. Well, I was going to give you the figures. It increased to about 2,441 adults and children from 2,238 persons last year counted, so a 9.1% increase. One of the things that she mentioned is that basically when they go out and do the count, there are those who are surveyed, they actually speak with those that are homeless, and then those that are observed. And this year, she was concerned that so much of the count was received or was accumulated by observation, not by actual surveying. And surveying is ideal because then you really understand the circumstances, if they're truly homeless, how long they've been, what are their circumstances, et cetera. And so there was just a kind of an encouragement that we need to be more diligent in being active participants in that homeless count next year and maybe helping to be more involved in actually surveying. Just a couple things, and I know that we've received the reports, but basically for Simi Valley, at least what was counted, 2022 we had 141. This year it was 150, so an increase by 9. But it was a very interesting and important presentation. One of the things that I was a little concerned about too is that they talked about their specific areas that they're trying to work and make a difference in. What they're finding, one of the areas is with homeless veterans, and unfortunately, right now they have a number of veterans that are not able to use the vouchers they have for housing. So obviously, as a community, as a county, we need to work on making sure that those are that we work with them to help solve some of those problems. And so that was Thursday, May the 11th. On Saturday, May 13th, I had the distinction of attending Moorpark College's annual scholarship celebration breakfast. And I will say, I was amazed by the number of students who received scholarships, by the number of foundation members, community members, individuals who are donating to education, to further education of our students. It was really a wonderful celebration. And it left me really energized and seeing that we are blessed that we have a jewel in Moorpark College there, and lots are being done to support their good programming. And so I want to commend all of those recipients, many of which are Simi Valley residents, for their wonderful scholarships to that college. And that concludes my report. And happy Mother's Day, by the way, to all. Thank you.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, May 1st, I had met with Darcy Taylor with Habitat for Humanity prior to our meeting, and I forgot to indicate that, so I wanted to make sure I got that on the books. Wednesday, May 3rd, we did not have our EDC executive meeting. And then on May 6th, I attended the Soaring Spirits Gala, and you'll probably hear a higher number as we go along to that. It was very, very nice to honor Michelle Neff Hernandez and the organization that she founded for 15 years of service to the grieving and widows and widowers internationally. They actually have an international outreach. That was wonderful. And they had the event up at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, which was very nice. And it's always nice to go up there. On Tuesday, May 9th, I did ADA interviews with Mr. Mayor. So we selected the best person, I think, for the job. So that will be announced at some point. I wanted to go back to, so on Saturday, I'll get to that, sorry. So Thursday, May 11th, Rockies and my Rotary Club had the Paul Harris Night. Paul Harris Awards are an award given to somebody to recognize their service above self. Basically, that's Rotary's motto, service above self. And it was very nice because one of our local business members and a member of the club, Wade Klepek, is Simi Valley Lock and Key. He honored Mark Anflick, who happens to be the supervisor building inspector here at the city of Simi Valley. And he honored Mark because of his commitment to his job and the fact that he pretty much saved the lives of an elderly couple when he realized something just wasn't quite right. The building, no, people are living there. His instincts and his experience and knowledge made him go back and check, and they found 2 elderly people there that most likely would not have made it too much longer at that point in time. So I gather from what people say, that's not the first time his instinct has kicked in to do the right thing. So I just wanted to congratulate him, and he was given a Paul Harris Award that night. It was very, very, very nice, especially to see a city employee get recognized. On Saturday, May 13th, I also attended the Rotary softball tournament. I am the chair in waiting. I think I'm chairing it next year. That was kind of the organization or the understanding for that. But Rotary, we started this softball tournament a few years ago, and we raised money that is then turned around and given back to our community. We had 17 teams from all over, and I was talking to a team from Lancaster. I was talking to a team from Chino. So there were people from all over that come and play, and they have a great time. And then thanks to Mr. Dan Potter, he organizes everything for us and does a great job at that. And I wanted to do a quick shout out to local businesses. Shop See Me, right? So Johnny's Appliance on Tapo. I have been trying to get a dishwasher from a big box store for almost 3 months. I walked into Johnny's on Saturday, bought it, and they installed it on Wednesday. So shop local, people. They did a great job. So I was very, very excited about that. And then the last thing is just I did want to recognize that today is Peace Officer Memorial Day. I've had the opportunity to visit the National Police Officers Monument in Washington, D.C. My sister has worked with a couple of fellow deputies that were killed in the line of duty. And so it's really nice to have that recognition and to be able to have a special day set aside for our law enforcement. I actually am wearing a pin with my blue line on it. I can't remember which one. But it's very nice that we recognize that, and that the entire state does, and that the nation does, and that we have, thank goodness, we recognize one past Simi Valley police officer that was lost, Michael Clark. And I know his wife and family and son are still in the area, and I know they appreciate every time recognition is given to him. So thank you all, and that's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On between Wednesday and Friday, May 3rd through 5th, I was attending the SCAG Regional Conference out in Palm Desert. Again, it was a great event. A lot of information to be gathered there. You know, the talk is always about, because I do represent VCTC on the Transportation Committee there, that talk is always about electrification. You know, still, the answers are slow in coming on how that's actually going to happen, but they seem to be moving right along. There's a lot of good speakers about it. We had some electric car on display, electric trucks on display. It was a very interesting meeting. And like I said, next year, if you have the chance, council members, city managers, city attorneys, I think this event is free to everybody. And it's always an eye-opener. It tells you what's going on in the southern 6 counties of California. On Saturday, May 6th, I too attended the Soaring Spirits event at the Reagan Library. Outstanding event, outstanding cause. Again, if you have the disposable income and the willingness, that's a good cause to donate money to. On May 8th, I had a Council on Aging meeting, also attended by Councilmember Lister. Did have a complaint from one of the seniors there about potholes and street bumpiness. So I promised her that Rocky was going to get right on that. On Thursday, May 11th, I attended the Council on Aging's Aging Unbound luncheon, and Rocky's statement was true. It did happen. It was amazing. That evening, I too attended the Simi Valley Noontime Rotary Club's Paul Harris Awards dinner, and those are great awards given out to people, well deserved. It's always a good thing for our community. On Friday, May 12th, I attended the VCTC meeting in Camarillo. Not too much has changed. There is no update in our area from Caltrans, nothing new going on. They're still working on a lot of the damage from all the rains down there in the Santa Paula line area between Fillmore and Santa Paula on the train tracks and the bridges. So they're still trying to get all that stuff worked out and fixed. It's taken up a lot of their time. There were some concerns by one of the commissioners there about the fact that SCAG has taken over some of the grant rating for bicycle lanes and other things like this. And instead of taking it away from VCTC, so they're going to start issuing out of SCAG, I guess, now. So if we're looking to do some project like that, let's Go Human campaigns are always running, SCAG's got the money. If we need to get some money out of them for a grant, just let me know, I'll figure out a way. Rocky's also our other representative on SCAG. Next year, I'm supposed to be the vice chair of I am right now. It happened when we were at the meeting. The vice chair of the Transportation Committee on SCAG. So Go Human's a big thing, and anything we can do to make it easier to ride scooters, bikes, or anything in our city, and we need money for, that's where we go to get it. Saturday, May 13th, I was honored to be invited to attend the Ventura County Council's BSA dinner fundraiser for the Boy Scouts in our county, and that was a great event. I've been to it a couple times, also the Eagle Dinner a couple times, so it's always a good event, and it was well attended, and thanks Sheriff Freihoff for being the MC. That's the end of my report, and I also wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you had a great Sunday yesterday.
Thank you. All right, let's see here. Wednesday, May 3rd, I joined city staff and the chamber and made sea-level visits with executives from two of the city businesses here in town. Thursday, May 4th, attended the Visit Simi Valley meeting. Don't really have anything to report from that, but they're finally getting active with their tourism promotions right now. Let's see. On Saturday, May 6th, well, I also attended Soaring Spirits, so it was a full council that night. And although I don't really know Michelle, I knew her late husband. He was a good friend of mine. And I did not realize that Soaring Spirits was something that she created until that night. And so I had a chance to talk to her about it, and she's done an amazing job. I mean, it's literally a national organization now. Really worthwhile. See, Tuesday, May 9th, did the EDA interviews. Thursday, May 11th, I also attended the Simi Valley Rotary Paul Harris dinner. It was a very nice event, and there was some. It's a meaningful thing. I really appreciated that, and that is it for me. So at this time, I want to call for any future agenda items. I see somebody thinking about it.
I do have an item, but I'm going to wait and have some conversation before it, and I'll bring it next time, because I actually do, but I want to just do a little more research.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. In that case, I will adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Riverside County Deputy Sheriff Brett Harris, and also a good friend, former Planning Commissioner and City Resident Larry Freed. Thank you, everybody.